Come this December, we have almost reached an year since COVID emerged and haunted humanity. That is, if you take the Chinese incidents, the first incidents that happened in Wuhan, but if you take the recent report that there was COVID 19 kind of infection in September itself in Italy, then we have already crossed a year. Now, finally, at the end of the tunnel, there appears to be a light. Apparently, so, if you take the preliminary results of COVID 19 trials, both by Pfizer and Moderna. Of the preliminary trials of about 1995 people, about 5 people who really got vaccinated and got infected. They really did not show much of the problem that are associated with COVID 19. So the results are very promising, and the immunogenicity appears to be almost 95% in case of Moderna and 90% in terms of Pfizer. WHO had clearly said if the efficacy of this vaccine is even about 70%, that should be good enough to start the vaccination. But 95% appears to be very, very promising, though the results are very preliminary. Very interestingly, the vaccine being produced by Moderna and Pfizer are the first of its kind in the history of vaccines. The world has never seen so far the mRNA vaccines. We have seen recombinant DNA vaccines, we have seen live vaccines, we have seen attenuated vaccines. But of course, these days there are a number of other ways of making vaccines, whether it is a polysaccharide, recombinant DNA, mRNA vaccines, subunit vaccines. So this way, today there are almost about 142 vaccines being tried, at about 54 in the phase 3 level, and rest about 80 and odd are at the animal experiment level. So large number of vaccines are in the pipeline, and the Pfizer and Moderna result appear to be very, very promising. Of course, the mRNA vaccines, as I was saying, are the first of its kind that the human medical history has seen. mRNA is, is a messenger RNA that is given to people to prompt our own cell to produce the spike of COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2 virus that causes COVID-19. And then the body responds to the spikes by producing antibodies. And that's the way the vaccination happens, and the immunogenicity response is being brought in. So, of course, we still don't know the full result because the trial is about 30,000 people. That is why even having a vaccine, as WHO says, is like having a tent at the foothill of Himalaya, which means there is so much to claim. Of course, somebody was about to claim Mount Everest, and he was asked, "Why are you claiming?" He simply said, "Because it is there." So, because there is COVID, we got to produce. Humanity is challenged that how do you overcome this disease? Now, of course, whether the COVID-19, there are questions, large questions about the vaccines. If the vaccine becomes successful, how long the immunogenicity lasts? Is it a lifetime, or is it going to be annual affair like the flu virus? We just don't know. Whether the single dose or double dose will be more effective, yet to be seen. Or whether vaccinated people can still transmit disease without effective neutralizing antibodies. Will the vaccine will only prevent pathogenicity without really preventing infection? A person may be infected but may not result in disease. So that is also a possibility. Or those who are vaccinated may be able to even spread the disease, uh, even though it doesn't really cause disease to them. So these are some of the things that we are yet to see. There is, of course, Russian vaccine, Sputnik, which is also being, you know, claimed. All types of tall claims are being made about Russian vaccine, but there doesn't appear to be any relevant data published in any peer-reviewed journals. It's very important that any vaccine news, if it is just claimed by the manufacturer, we may have to take it with a pinch of salt. If it is claimed by politicians and the head of the state, we still have to take it with a bucket of salt. So the Russian leadership is claiming that the Sputnik is very effective, about 90% effective, but the number is just about 20 people, whereas in Moderna and Pfizer, it's about 95 to 96 people, slightly larger. Of course, 20 is too small a number to have any major trust in it. And like Winston Churchill saying about Russia, we still don't, we can trust Russian war weaponry. I don't know how far they're capable in terms of medicines, vaccines. Not that there were no great Russian scientists, there were plenty. But we haven't seen historically being able to produce this kind of vaccines or medicines. So, as Churchill used to say about Russia, Russia is a riddle wrapped in mystery inside an enigma. So there is a lot of still unraveled truth about the Sputnik. But the Moderna and Pfizer seems to be very promising. So with this, probably the Indian vaccines are also there, the live and attenuated vaccines. The AstraZeneca's adenovirus vaccine drawn from the chimpanzee. It is a subunit vaccine. Of course, good results appear to be there. There are no peer-reviewed journal publications so far. The Serum Institute of India has tied up with AstraZeneca. Of course, the technology comes from Oxford University. So we have to wait and watch how these vaccines will finally result in being able to really control COVID-19. The challenge today is, of course, both the COVID-19 vaccine from Pfizer and particularly Pfizer, is that the vaccine has to be preserved at minus 70 degree, which they say is really, though the vaccine is effective to the extent of 90%, in India, whether we have the logistic system to preserve this vaccine at minus 70 degree and being able to carry it across this vast country, length and breadth of the country. That appears to be a big challenge, though Pfizer itself has, along with the vaccine, has produced a container which preserves vaccine at less than minus 70 degree, which is a good news. But Moderna appears to be far more conducive to Indian environment because it can be kept at 2 to minus 7 degree centigrade, which I think India should be able to, with the available facility here, we should be able to use the cold storage facilities and able to manage Moderna in case that becomes an early one. So we are looking at healthcare workers being vaccinated to a large extent, at least the doctors, nurses, and the healthcare system as such. They are the most vulnerable and susceptible, at least to initially vaccinate them, and then 130 crore people. So the challenge today is, of course, everybody has to be vaccinated in order to reach the real immunity, to put a brake and barrier to COVID-19 from spreading. So that's an enormous task because young and old, everybody has to be vaccinated, because vulnerable are more than 60, 65 years. So of course, India, it tapers down after 75, and we don't know how. So this is a big challenge, how we can transport these vaccines all across the country and the cold storage system and all that. How many people can the Indian medical system vaccinate per day is another challenge, because we have about 11 lakh, 1.1 million doctors in India, and about 70,000 pediatricians in India. And almost about 15 lakh nurses in India. That's the healthcare system that we have. So even with the maximum number of vaccines that doctors can provide, because it is the injection system. But there are also COVID vaccines being developed, like a nasal spray, which could be much far more easier. Like the polio vaccine is a very easiest one. Just put two, three drops and you're vaccinated. But the injections ones and the cold storage ones poses a bigger challenge in terms of logistics. But let's hope that that a large number of Indian medical system, and with about 11 crore doctors, whether we will be able to vaccinate at the vaccine speed. Vaccine, what now the production of vaccine, they're talking about warp speed. Warp speed is the speed which is beyond the speed of light. I mean, that's the kind of a thing that was given. The government of US had asked the the vaccine manufacturer to produce it to the warp speed, and they were also given enough money, millions of dollars. Of course, there is a funnily they say the genetics earlier, not now. Earlier they used to say the basis of genetics is all about DNA making RNA and RNA making protein. Of course. Some people also used to say that the DNA makes RNA, RNA makes protein, and protein makes money. And of course, there was a huge funding in this way, rightly so in this context. We cannot mock at it. So, with the COVID vaccine coming in, with the Moderna or many of these vaccines that are promising to show good results, hopefully that humanity may be able to really subdue the virus. Of course, we always careful, and everything about virus has to be seen with very, very cautious optimism, because a very famous virologist has said that a stupidest virus is more intelligent than most intelligent virologist. Thank you.